Hello, student. Myself, Mohammad Akram. I am a dialysis intern from Aligarh Muslim University. Today, we are going to discuss about history of hemodialysis. So, the person who is on the screen was actually Dr. William John Pim Cobb, the man behind the revolution in dialysis. Basically, he is also known as the father of the artificial organ. What are the topics which I covered in this presentation are historical perspective and early development, first dialysis in humans, success, the work of Pimkov, advancement in dialysis technology. Historical perspective. Clinical observation which I have mentioned here is the patient initially notes oliguria and hematuria. This is followed by falling appetite and eventually nausea and intractable vomiting. There is a metallic taste to all food. So, what are the symptoms which he has mentioned here are the symptoms of advanced kidney failure. Like in the beginning, patient has oliguria, then hematuria, followed by falling of appetite, and eventually nausea, intractable vomiting. There is a metallic taste to all food, Peter hepaticus, insult that is a uremic breath. The patient become demented, dropsy, herald, and beginning of the end. But soon follows coma, seizure, and death. At the end of the patient excrete a characteristic skin frosting of urines. So we will discuss one by one whatever the symptoms the Hippocrates mentioned in his clinical observation of a patient having advanced kidney failure. So first is oliguria. Basically, low urine output and hematuria, blood in urine, early sign of kidney disease. Falling appetite, nausea, and vomiting means a waste buildup in the blood. Patient often experience gastrointestinal symptoms. Metallic taste, a common complaint in patient with advanced kidney failure. Peter hepaticus, that is the uremic breath, a characteristic breath order due to urea buildup. Dementia-like symptoms. Advanced uremia can have can cause cognitive impairment. Dropsy, that is edema. So, in severe kidney dysfunction, fluid actually build in the body, so it lead to fluid retention, and that is edema. Coma, seizure, and death, and stage kidney failure can lead to life-threatening complications, that is coma, seizure, and eventually death. Uremic frost, a rare but characteristic sign of advanced uremia where urea crystal deposit on the skin. So these symptoms highlight the importance of early detection and treatment of kidney disease. In early Rome, later in Middle Ages, treatment of uremia include the use of Roman hot bath, which I have shown here on the screen, and sweatings. Okay, so other therapies like bloodletting and enemas was used earlier for the treatment of uremia. Early developments की बात करते हैं. The first scientific description of these procedures date back to the 19th century and came from a Scottish chemist Thomas Graham, who is also known as father of the dialysis because he first presented the principle of solute transport across a semi-permeable membrane in 1854. The first historical description of this type of procedure was published in 1930. He is also known as the father of the dialysis, that is the Thomas Graham, because he has given us the basic principle of dialysis, that is kidney. Again, in early developments, the works of Abel, Roundtree, and Turner anesthetized the animal by directing their blood outside the body through a tubes of semi-permeable membrane made from polyodon, a material based on cellulose, by using a technique called UV diffusion in 1913. So here on the screen, you can see the first artificial kidney was actually made by Abel, Roundtree, and Turner to dialyze a anesthetized animal by. Okay, so for that purpose they have used the VV diffusion techniques in which they have used a polyodon membrane, which is actually made up of cellulose. Abel work laid the foundation for the development of first artificial kidney, which was later improved by KOLFF in 19. For the purpose of anticoagulants, that Abel and his colleague actually used hirudine substances, which had been identified as the anticoagulant element in the saliva of the leeches in 1880 to prevent clotting in the diaphragm. So here the leech basically you can see, and in the saliva of the leeches, the hirudine is actually found. So the Abel and his colleague used that substances for the anticoagulation of blood, basically when they are drawing the blood outside the body into the tube. So the blood can clot, but to prevent the blood clotting they have used an anticoagulant, that is hirudine. German doctor named George Haas from the town of Gießen near Frankfurt am Main performed the first dialysis treatment involving human being in 1924. So, in February 28, 1924, George Haas performed the first dialysis in a human being, although it was not successful, but he has tried his best. George Haas was the person who believed that Haas dialyzed the first patient with the kidney failure at the University of Gießen in the summer 1924 after performing preparatory experiments. So Haas, like Abels, also used hirudine as the anticoagulant in his first dialysis treatment, but that hirudine in the human being causes so much allergic reaction. For dialysis in his next patient, Judge Haas actually used the new anticoagulant heparin. So one of the quotation which I have mentioned from the George Haas is that from the initial idea to the actual realization of the dialysis method, it was a very long way. I would have to say it was the way of the cross. George Haas 19. The forgotten hemodialysis part. Early developments, first dialysis in humans. So the first human dialysis were reported in 1950 that I have already mentioned earlier by George Haas from the University Clinic at Gießen, Germany. For that purpose, he used a single polyodon membrane that is 48-inch long glass tube as his dialyzer. So he has used a dialyzer made up of long glass tube in which the George Haas placed a polyodon membrane of about 48-inch. To achieve adequate clearances, he required multiple dialyzers. So he has connected multiple dialyzers in series, basically, and for which he required the blood pump. Although he was able to achieve some clearance of toxins, this treatment had no impact on mortality. So here you can see the George Haas performing dialysis on patient at the University of BC. Early development first dialysis in humans. So in 1937, William Thallimer introduced a cellophane as a dialyzing membrane and demonstrated superiority over previously available surface. Like polyodon earlier it was used, but a new advanced membrane was introduced by Wilhelm Thallimer, which was actually have shown superiority over others. George Haas, as I have already mentioned, introduced heparin as an anticoagulant, has used heparin in his seventh and final experiment. So, the first slide I have mentioned about Dr. William John KOLFF, the father of the artificial organ. One of quotation from the William John KOLFF is that I wanted to make an artificial kidney that would save people. I was convinced that I could do it and I clung to it until it was done. So, moving forward, the success, the work of Wim. So, I will continue this series of history of hemodialysis in my next part of the history of hemodialysis. Thank you. Thank you for listening me. Please do subscribe, do likes, and press the bell icon for further updates. Thank you.